Hello everyone. I'm going to talk to you today about gay. Specifically about gay marriage that, as I assume all of you know, is now legal across the entire United States of America. And I just want to put a little disclaimer here. I'm not gay. I am straight. So if you're a lady, we should go out sometime. Now, there's a few different things I want to talk about, but primarily I want to talk about the idea of tolerance and acceptance, because in general, people have a hard time with this. All day I've been thinking about making this video, and I wasn't exactly sure what I was going to say, and a little while ago I realized that this is the issue I really want to focus on in regards to this, is that people are sensitive when it comes to people believing different than they do. And it's not just religious or political issues that people are overly sensitive about. If I were to go and tell a group of people that I hate the McRib, there'd probably be at least one or two people that would flip out. Because people love the McRib. And when the McRib is back, everybody's having a great time because the McRib is back. Chris, that's a dumb example. I know it is. But the fact is that something that small can at least cause a little bit of a stir if you say you don't like something or if you disagree with something. So then you take that to another level when it comes to someone's lifestyle. Someone says, I'm gay and I would like to get married like the straight people do. And then someone else says, that's wrong. You know, it was illegal in some places. That's a sin. You can't do that. You're wrong. And the reason that people say it's wrong is because it doesn't line up with what they believe. Whether it's because sometimes it's personal, they just think it's weird, or it's unnatural, or it's gross. On that note, straight sex is gross too. Just because it's fun doesn't mean it's not gross. But people have these ideas, and anytime somebody says something against that, doesn't agree with their idea, there's going to be people that get up in arms about it instead of just tolerating it. Now, obviously there's some things that you shouldn't tolerate, like any kind of abuse, whether it's verbal or physical, things like that. If someone is hurting someone and saying it's their belief, then that's not okay. But being gay doesn't hurt anybody. Now, on the political side of things, and obviously I'm not an expert, I kind of want to talk about some of the things I've seen people saying against gay marriage that I don't quite, and there's some things that are for gay marriage that I also don't understand, because it's just, they're not doing anything to help their point. Politically, I saw people say that the Supreme Court doesn't have a right to make a law. And that sets a dangerous precedent for the government to be able to make other laws, or for the Supreme Court to make other laws that, apply to the entire country. The Supreme Court didn't make a law. They just ruled that banning gay marriage is unconstitutional, which basically made every state, like right then, basically lift their ban on it. Like they weren't allowed to have that ban on gay marriage anymore. So they weren't making a new law. They were just saying that it was against the Constitution to ban it. And then there's the people that for some reason say, well, if we let this happen, what's next? Well, the thing to keep in mind is that whatever is next has to happen between two consenting adults. So if you hear people say, what's next? Letting a guy marry a dog? No, that's ridiculous. A dog isn't a consenting adult. Or people say, oh, next thing you know, what have I seen? I've seen people say pedophilia is going to be legal eventually. No, because kids aren't consenting adults. So like some of those things, I feel like people are either out of touch or they're just purposely saying things that are over the top to try to get attention or something. So like politically, I don't think they did anything wrong. I do think that it creates problems doing it that way because it's going to cause arguments and discussions, especially with what's happening in Texas right now, because the Texas, I guess, state attorney general or whatever said that clerks can deny a marriage license to gay couples on religious grounds. And here's the weird thing about this, and this is how I'm going to kind of go into religion, I guess. As far as religion goes, most people agree that you shouldn't force your religion on anybody. Even though people of all kinds of different religions do, or either they force it on people, or they're mean about it, or things like that. But two guys go to a county clerk to get their marriage license, and the lady working the counter says, no, I can't give you a license because it's against my religion. That's forcing their religion on those two people. Now, Christians see it as, like, it being legal is forcing homosexuality on them because they're forced to, like, accept it in society. But that doesn't make sense to me, because the only way that you could force homosexuality on someone is if, like, someone made me marry a guy. That'd be forcing that on me. It being around me isn't forcing anything on me, because there's things all around. There's other religions in this country other than Christianity. There's also people that don't believe in a religion at all. But for some reason, a lot of people have this mentality that they're right, and it's not an opinion. This is going to sound really disjointed. I didn't, like, write anything down. I'm just talking. So anyway, as far as religion goes, on that point, is that it's not forcing anybody. If you work for the government with separation of church and state, they shouldn't be allowed to use their religion to get out of doing stuff at their job. Like, I don't know. What were my other points about? Oh, the other big thing that's weird to me is there are other... Okay, now this is... If you just assume that being gay is a sin, like, I know that's a whole other discussion, because some people say it isn't, some people say it is. I might talk... That'd be a whole video if I talked about that. Let's say that being gay is a sin, okay? There are other sins that are legal. Divorce in the Bible is a sin, but that's legal. But I bet those clerks that are saying they want to deny gay marriage licenses have probably... Do they have to put like some kind of paperwork for divorce? I don't know if they do. But yeah, divorce is legal, and I don't see Christians protesting outside government buildings saying that they should make divorce illegal. What else? I'm trying to think is legal. This is one that a lot of people kind of debate about, but being an alcoholic is a sin, but it's legal to be an alcoholic, even though it hurts you, and it can potentially hurt other people. And I don't see Christians protesting that. They just don't drink. Just like some Christians, I know there's probably circumstances, whatever, but a lot of Christians are super against getting a divorce. That's why there's some families that stay together even though they're super unhappy, because they say, you know, divorce is a sin, we can't get divorced. But there's nobody protesting that. Just for some reason being gay is like the big thing. But there's all this other stuff happening in the world that there's not a big fervor about. And even in the States, like, there's way worse things happening to people. There's human trafficking, there's really bad drug use, there's I don't know, around the world there's stuff with children and homelessness and all this other stuff. But all that stuff, churches will just pray for during a service or during a prayer meeting or whatever. But they don't just pray about gay people. They feel the need to get on Facebook and say, hey, being gay is wrong. I just want to tell you all that being gay is wrong, in case you didn't know it. And the problem with that is, from a religious perspective, specifically from a Christian perspective, is that Jesus wanted people to love each other and wanted people to spread the gospel so that people would be saved. Going around telling people that being gay is wrong doesn't accomplish either of those things. Like, they're too focused on, you know, the hot topic right now over doing what the Bible tells them to do. And I think and that whole thing is what bugs me, is that they're focusing on this when there's way more important issues, both just in the world and what Jesus told them to do, that they're ignoring in favor of, we've got to stop the gays. I think I've completely... Hold on. Give me just one moment. I'm going to check something. I asked my friends on Facebook if there were any points that they'd like me to bring up. And I'm going to look through those comments real quick just to see if there's anything else that I missed. Let's see. I was thinking it's kind of funny that people say it's unnatural. Like I was saying, people say it's gross. It's unnatural. And my first thought, anytime somebody says it's unnatural, I'm like, it's unnatural for us to drive around in cars or eat pizza or wear a suit or wear shoes or eat peanut butter straight out of the jar or listen to music on a tiny device that fits in our pocket. Like, none of those things are natural. They're just things we're used to. So people say, well, this isn't natural because they're not used to it. Let me see. Okay, there are people that say that allowing gay people to get married changes the institution of marriage itself. And the way I look at it is marriage is two different levels. There's the religious level with God that's in most marriages, at least in the U.S., I guess. And then there's like the political part of it, where there's the paperwork and the name changing and the you're legally married now and all that. And I feel like if you're a Christian and you don't believe gay people should get married, then wouldn't you believe that God just doesn't recognize that marriage? And then it's just something that the government recognizes? Like, wouldn't you just be happy knowing that and then leave them alone? Instead of going, like, if I went up to a gay couple that was married and said, did you know that God doesn't recognize your marriage? I don't think they would care. But that's just assuming, the side of it being wrong. Like I said, I'm not going to get into it being right or wrong. Or a sin or not a sin or whatever. So I don't think it affects the whole institution of marriage. Because it was just a thing that was just a spoken agreement between people for a long time. It used to be like an exchange of property. Like, I will give you 30 head of cattle and I will take your daughter. And then I will give you grandchildren. It's like, that's historically traditional marriage. And then after that it changed and it kept changing. So marriage has always been an evolving thing. It's always been changing. It's never been the same. So that's why I don't understand that viewpoint, that it changes the whole institution of marriage. What are the other comments here? Let's see. Yeah, marrying dogs. Talk about the country. Oh yeah, this isn't really a point for or against it, but I do think it's funny that people are, because I've seen tweets and Facebook posts that say America's going down the toilet, I'm moving to Canada, or I'm moving to England. It's like, you're listing places where gay marriage is already legal. It has been for a long time, or at least a while. Anyway, I've just been rambling for 18 minutes, and I'm sure this thing will have 22 views, but I just wanted to talk about this because it's a big deal. And I don't know. I think, back to my original point about tolerance, is that you've got to understand that tolerance should go both ways, as long as it's, spoken in a non-offensive way. If I say, I'm gay and I love my boyfriend, and you think that's wrong, you should tolerate it, because it's an opinion, it's a different lifestyle, and it's not hurting anybody. So just accept it. Or you don't have to accept it, but you have to tolerate it. That's all you have to do is tolerate it. Just the same as if I think being gay is wrong, and I see a guy, gosh, that is backwards. If I post on Facebook and just say, I think being gay is wrong, but to each his own. If that's all I said, some people would interpret that as hate speech. And I don't understand why that's happening. It's happening on Twitter. Somebody will just say, I disagree with the choice that the Supreme Court made on Friday. I don't think marriage should be between members of the same sex. Did you hear anything hateful in that? No, it's just, I disagree. That's it. But for some reason people think that they're being intolerant when they're not being intolerant, they're being unsupportive. But for some reason there's this line between tolerance and support that people don't seem to grasp. You can tolerate something and not support it. Like, for years, I'm sure, religions tolerate other religions that don't agree with theirs. They don't, like, well, unless you're Westboro Baptist Church or some other crazy church. You don't see a Christian church marching over to a mosque and telling them to get out of the country, or telling them just, you're wrong, I don't know why you believe this way. That doesn't happen. Because they tolerate each other. They don't have to support each other. They don't go over there and say, hey, we'll go to one of your services if you come to our service. That doesn't happen. But they just allow each other to exist and do things the way they think they should. But for some reason, people feel like with this and with some other issues that they aren't being tolerant just because they disagree. And in general, like I said at the beginning, that's the problem with a lot of the country, is that people feel like if you disagree with me, then you're telling me I'm wrong. I don't like the McRib. That was a weird example at the beginning, but I generally don't think the McRib is very good at all. And you might love the McRib, and that's it. We tolerate each other's opinions. I don't come over to your house and like start listing off the ingredients of the McRib and tell you how it could be available year-round, but McDonald's is just trying to gouge you out of money. I don't do that. Just like you don't come over to my house and shove a McRib in my face and say, hey, you're wrong, eat this McRib. Yeah. So, in closing, it's been 22 and a half minutes, and I don't think I've made a coherent thought in that entire time, but I want to thank you for watching, thank you for supporting my hat, and I will see you in whatever I decide to rant about next. Hopefully, it'll be a little more organized. Probably not, because I like just kind of ranting and raving and just talking and letting thoughts out as they come. That's what I like to do. So, I'll see you guys in whatever happens next.